fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Are you spending a lot of time looking for setups and struggling for faster lap times? Are you tired of searching online for answers? Would you like to get setups, analysis and tutorials from some of the best sim racers in the world like Ralph Alla, Mitchell de Jong, Martin Krunker, Josh Rogers and many more? If so, virtualracingschool.com is the answer you've been looking for. VRS data packs provide hot laps from our professional coaches for you to analyse and replicate. They provide tutorials that walk you through the fastest laps and what the pros did to achieve the best times. And they provide the setups you need to ensure your car is competitive in both oval and road racing. If you're ready to get faster and reach more podiums sooner than later, just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a free account today.
Welcome to SimSpeed TV for a special event for Club Day Masters. We head to Oran Park with the iRacing Legend cars out on track for the standard format, 2 30-minute races with a full reverse grid. Will mean that we're going to see some action-packed racing tonight. It's going to be very, very fun to watch as well. Hello, my name is Jay Kennedy. Alongside me, Cameron Dance Cam. This is going to be a lot of fun. Very, very cool event. Some cars that we don't see too much out on track in the AusNZ community, but a car that we should see a lot more of, I believe.
Yeah, certainly. It's certainly an underrated car, and it's very, very fun to drive and watch as well, with the fact that it's very much a car that tends to produce actually very, very good racing. So looking forward to seeing what tonight's going to hold and what's going to possibly happen.
Cars are just out on track at this present stage for qualifying, 10-minute qualifying session. But before we get into that, let's quickly, if I can actually use English, remind ourselves of this Oran Park circuit. Of course, no longer exists, sadly, just on the outskirts of Sydney, just south of the middle of Sydney, on the way to Melbourne, just off the Hume Highway. And scroll in a little bit further, and you'll see what is now Oran Park Town with the circuit right there. So there is actually still some mementos of the main straight and a couple of little things, but sadly no longer a track. But pretty cool that pretty much every single street in Oran Park Town is named after something motorsport related or someone motorsport related.
Yeah, certainly. It keeps the vintage days alive, as they would say, with the fact that all those streets are named after something, and there's still those remnants of it, the actual track itself. So if you get the chance to go in there, it's certainly one that you can't pass up if you're driving on by, but unfortunately you're going to struggle to try and do the actual track layout.
Yeah, you might have to run some houses over and knock some walls down, but yeah, the track, as you said, no longer there, but remnants still around from the circuit. As we get into qualifying, still 6 minutes of qualifying remaining for our drivers tonight. Standard Club Day Masters format, of course, for tonight's action, so that means we've got 2 30-minute races, safety cars in each, and strategy will probably play a little bit of a key as well, because drivers will want to make sure that they pit at the right time, because if they don't, they could find themselves in a little bit of hurt later on.
Good, especially when that safety car comes out. So if you're not in pit lane before that safety car comes out, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble with the fact that you're going to have to pit after everybody else has, so you're going to fall back down the order and have to do a little bit of passing near the end of the race. But we'll have to see what everybody's strategy is going to be as far as pit stops go. Trying to be getting out of traffic, I think, is going to be the main point, with the fact that the circuit is so tight and technical, and passing really is quite difficult in these little things as well. So we'll have to see what everybody's going to do, but I imagine it's going to be more about the undercut than the overcut. Caleb Hyde's going at, currently sitting P3, didn't quite set a representative lap time that last time by, not getting valid, so he's going to try and go around one more time. Glenn Boyd, though, currently sitting P2 with a very, very nice time.
Yep, and he's ahead of Jack at the moment. With Jack Boyd, we know that he's got great pace, one of the better drivers we have on or in this series, and he just puts it straight to P number 1. A 14.5, very, very nice lap there for Jack Boyd. A few familiar names that you will see out on track from this series. A few that are not too regular as well, jumping in and having a race tonight as well. So great to see some new faces to this series tonight. Nick's Grave out on track. One that's definitely familiar to us, Cam.
Is both in the comms box and also out on track in this series as well. Doesn't particularly have a lot of luck, unfortunately, in the Club Name Masters series, but he's going to see what he can do tonight. Hopefully, fortunes change in the not too distant future, and usually found in that bright yellow machine as well in Club Name Masters in the MX5 class. So we'll see what Nick can do coming out of the final corner, and that's very crossed up, and it might have tapped the wall. I want to say that's a validated lap, but we'll see what happens as he comes across the line. And it's an improvement, but it's not going to be valid.
Yep, so stays 13th position. Hayden Jackson yet to put in a lap time. We've got 3 minutes left in qualifying. And big thanks to presenting partners for this series for tonight's racing action: Digital Marketing Tribe, SimWorks, and of course Extreme as well. Big thank you guys for your support of Club Day Masters and this special event, special Anzac Day edition. Even though it isn't Anzac Day, it's a day after, of course, but doing it around an Aussie track in a car that wouldn't be too unfamiliar to see out there in Aussie circuits. This would be, very similar to an Aussie racing car, but these cars would have been very, very good fun to race around this track back in the day.
Yeah, they certainly would have been, with the fact that they're very short wheelbase, pretty much an oversized go-kart more or less to drive. So with the bumps and everything, it really would have been very, very fun and very, very busy as well, with the fact that it's so short and everything. So it would have been very, very interesting to see what the racing would have been like, and what we would have seen around this sort of circuit, having these little machines running around here. But we at least get to see that tonight, with the fact that they're all racing around here today.
100% right, and you'll see, as I said, a few familiar names, one of them being Lee Harrison, who's out there right now, currently sitting in 5th position. He'll be looking to improve on that, having a few connection issues as well, so that won't be helping him. Lachlan Capel, someone we haven't seen in the series the last 2 seasons. So, Lachlan out there having a run tonight, crosses the line with a 17.0. Long way off his personal best at the moment.
So it's going to stay at 10th for the time being. What can Greg Holmes do? Coming out of the final corner, he's got a little bit of a draft as well from Giovanni Gutierrez, who just crosses the line, and Holmes crosses the line, and that's not going to be a valid lap either. So he's got a few off tracks in the last few laps, so probably not going to be improving from this point onward.
This is one cool looking car out there for Dylan Burse right now. He's out there in the, I would say, Dumb and Dumber inspired Legend.
Yes, the old dog car that is certainly very, very well known, doesn't improve on that lap either, so probably going to be his qualifying session done with just over 30 seconds remaining. Yep,
and it'll be a hard cut for qualifying as well, so as soon as the clock hits 0, the session is done. Brady Buchanan about to come across the line, 30 seconds left. He will not improve on this lap, he's a long way off, and that's fairly heavy contact in the wall. That's done. Caleb Hydes, let's see what he does. Current best of a 15.03 A little bit of draft out of the final corner, probably not a long enough run to help him. But if he had that at the start of the lap, that could be enough to improve, and he does. And he will jump up one position. No, he won't. Have a look at how close that is at the front. Very, very tight. A session is done, and that is qualifying all over. Jack Boyd will start on pole position for our racing tonight, with right alongside him Dylan Burse, Glenn Boyd right behind. So the Boyds together, father and son, in first and third. Caleb Hydes will start from fourth, with Lee Harrison in fifth, Dylan DeBono in sixth position. We've got Richard Brookfield, Michael Smith crossing, George Gutierrez, Lachlan Cable. We've got Andrew Hobby, Shannon McMillan, down to Matthew Hansford Taylor, Nick Skraev, Anthony DiMaro, and we've got Matthew McMillan, Brady Buchanan, Anthony Connors, Giovanni Gutierrez, Philip Paradiso, Greg Holmes. We've got Hayden Jackson, Darren Lassou, Tim Rouse as our full field by the looks of it. 24 cars.
Yeah, so it's certainly going to be quite busy out there with 24 cars out on track, and Sue and Rouse not seeing qualifying times either, so they'll be starting down the back of the field and having to pass a few cars ahead, but it's going to be all about making sure you can get these things off the line as well. And these little things is, it's not exactly the most gripped up car you could imagine, especially off the line where you're pretty much flooring the thing at 10,000 RPM as well.
The other thing too, of course, road tyres too. So that's the other part of it too that makes it hard to get off the line, because the tyres are definitely not designed for racing conditions. So it will make it a little bit difficult as we get ready to take the green. Only 10 seconds or so left for the green flag will fly in tonight's racing. It should provide some very, very cool action around this circuit here at Oran Park. Sadly no longer with us, but will live on in iRacing forever, thankfully.
Green flag in there, and
flies.
very nice jump from Jack Boyd there to get off the line, although an even better one from Dylan Burse as they head down towards turn one, and Burse might just be able to get enough overlap on the way down. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to, but he's going to lunge up the inside on the way into turn two, and he's going to come out of turn one with the lead, and Hydes with a very, very nice turn one as well.
Yeah, great job from Dylan Burse there, and yeah, Caleb Hydes and Dylan DeBono, that whole inside line definitely had a great start there. Lee Harrison didn't have a great jump, but it's on at the front for sure. Rest of the field fairly settled. Shannon McMillan, his Anzac inspired livery, this gets passed by Anthony DeMaro in the number 14. A fairly clean getaway.
It doesn't look like there's been any dramas of any kind in the field by the looks of it. Everybody's more or less got away fairly cleanly by the looks of it. So far, so good at least. And Jack Boyd is starting to pressure the back of Burse. And just as I say that, it's a very, very big moment through the S's over the hill there.
I think he's got a bit of pressure on that right foot as well, judging by the movement that he had going on there. But he managed to keep it under control. He'd lose the spot to Caleb Hydes, and now he's the father in Glenn Boyd, pressuring the back. Very, very close battle as through goes Jack Boyd back through, but Caleb Hydes cuts back and might have the run into turn three. Not quite going to be able to get it done, so he's going to have to tuck in behind. This is the sort of racing we'll see throughout this race, racing action tonight. Lots of cutbacks, lots of over and unders, and lots of side-by-side.
Yeah, we certainly will see a lot of it. And one thing that also to remember about this car is that momentum is certainly all about keeping the momentum up. And if you lack any at all, you're going to be compromised quite a lot with the fact that it's not really got any sort of power to pull you out of the corner. So you've really got to make sure that you're not making too many mistakes and balking yourself out of the corners. But you have to wait and see what's going to happen. But it's certainly going to be very, very closely contested the whole way through this field.
Dylan DeBono with some pressure from behind of Lee Harrison, who, as we said, was having some connection issues. Well, fingers crossed, it looks like he's got them sorted for now. As seeing there is a car around number 14 there of Anthony Morrow, and there's another car cutting across the grass there, being Brady Buchanan. So I'm wondering if there's been an incident between those two, as Philip Paradiso off as well.
Yeah, a little bit of drama going on at the final corner there by the looks of it, with a few having a bit of a spin or possibly some contact. Not quite sure what happened to Buchanan, but we'll get a virtual racing school replay to see what has happened to this little group. And Buchanan just losing it on his own over that inside curb and spinning the rears up, managing to recover it quite nicely. But what happened to Paradiso? And it looks like he did that all on his own as well. Yeah, it looks like they have come together. I'm not quite sure what's actually happened, but the Bono's locked it inside front, and then Harrison, not sure whether he's just broken a little bit too late or not, but has ended up making contact and then being clipped on the way by as well. So both of them ending up off the road and dropping down the order as a result of that.
They've been able to regather themselves and get back going, as it is on for the lead now. Jack Boyd is back clear of Caleb Hydes, and he's starting to pull a decent margin on Hydes. Boyd and Burse going at it. These three look like, or these four I should say, look like they're a little bit ahead of everyone else on pace, because they're starting to pull a bit of a gap now. It's out to almost 3 seconds between Boyd and Richard Brookfield in 5th position, who's in his own little battle there with Matthew Smith crossing. But this lead battle looks very, very tight.
Yeah, it certainly does, and I don't think Boyd and Burst can really afford to fight at the moment with Hydes hot on their tails. So if one of them does, well, if they do come together, or there's possibly any sort of holding up going on between those top two, Hydes is going to be right there and ready to pounce, being all over the back of him, Jack Boyd. So Jack Boyd's going to probably want to try and get a little bit of a get a move on here and try and find a way on it by Dylan Burst, but he's going to have to do it very, very carefully, and he's going to have to think about it very much so that he doesn't hold himself or either to rest up.
Yeah, exactly right. He wants to make sure that, you know, get the move done smooth, and if it's not done smooth, it would mean that one will break away from the rest. Glenn Boyd starting to drop a little bit there. Caleb Hydes just sets the fastest lap of the race. No, he didn't. Jack Boyd did the lap previous. This Boyd big slide into turn 2. Just holds on.
Yeah, it was very, very lucky to get away with that one. Could have easily gone the other way and ended up in the gravel trap on the outside of the corner. So managed to get away with that one quite well. But that's meant that Burst has managed to have a little bit of a breathing room now between himself and Jack Boyd. And that's also meant that Caleb Hydes is just not quite able to get on by. I would have thought he might have just had a go, but wasn't quite able to get by there. So he's going to have to sit in third for a little bit longer, and this is going to start to bring in Glenn Boyd as well to this little battle as well.
Yeah, Glenn Boyd will get back into the fight just based on the fighting that is going on, and that mistake from Jack Boyd. Got that little kick on effect, doesn't it? So these four look pretty stable at the front. There is some battling. Is George Gutierrez defending from Lee Harrison. Lee Harrison, of course, recovering after that incident with Dylan DeBono, who's a couple of positions up the road. Oh no, Gutierrez around.
Yeah, another one claimed by the curb, and Anthony Connors as well, joining him on the infield, doing pretty much the exact same thing, except not catching it the inside curb, just catching just getting the rear end a little bit loose by the looks of it. So unfortunately he's fallen victim to the S's section, and it's certainly still going on at the front of the field, and that's a car passing the wrong way. That's not the right way that you want to be facing, just quietly. And Tim Rouse recovering to get on with it, and leader's going to have to be a little bit careful here with the fact that they're not too far away.
Oh no. Was Brady Buchanan and George Gutierrez getting involved there in a little bit of a tangle? See if we can pick up how that happened, because really cool.
It certainly didn't look too ideal at all. We'll see what's going to happen here. And Buchanan, not really Buchanan's fault there by the looks of it. It just looked like Gutierrez sort of came across his nose.
Gutierrez was looking to make that move as well, make the pass, and didn't quite get it done. So it's released Lee Harrison to close in on Nick Skraev, who's now in 11th position, up a couple of spots. And a big unknown, of course, is pit stops. We've seen a couple done already, but we really aren't too sure on what the drivers will need to do pit stop strategy-wise at all, are we?
You're not 100% sure on what the fuel is going to be like. I don't think they'll need to take tyres with the fact that they're on treated tyres, so they'll last quite some time, but we'll have to see who's going to do what in terms of strategy. If anybody does decide to take tyres and get a possible little bit of an advantage, but nevertheless, it's going to be all about trying to minimise that amount of fuel that you take, and Jack Boyd currently sitting in a nice position, and probably Caleb Hyde's in the best position possible with the fact that he's got a 2-car draft ahead of him, so he'll be saving the most amount of fuel out of these three. But what's going to happen in the pit lane and who's going to come out in front is going to be the big question and the big unknown.
100% right, and we will find all of these answers out in the near future. Will anyone come in this time? No. Hayden Jackson been another victim of the elevation changes here at Oran Park. One thing that's very, very underrated, that rejoin was a great tool.
Oh no. I think in his defence, though, there was a cloud of smoke, and you probably weren't going to see too far through it, especially with the new smoke effects that iRacing brought into it, so the smoke does look a lot thicker as well, so it's a lot harder to judge where a car may or may not be. But these three are really starting to heat things up now and have been battling since about turn 3 on this lap, so they're starting to get a little bit of a move on, and Jack Boyd's starting to get a little bit hungry for the race lead as he's looking left and right, and Caleb Hyde's doing the same thing to try and get into second as well. Oh, contact between Bruce and Boyd, and that's going to result in Hyde's managing to slot on through into the lead. There was a little bit of contact between them as well, but Hyde's managing to come away with that pretty unscathed, and Glenn Boyd's now going to move into second.
Yeah, and Burst has gone from first to fourth within one corner. Shannon McMillan also having issues as well, but we definitely need another look at that, because that is very, very race changing right there. Definitely a tiny little bit.
Yeah, it certainly didn't look like it was massive by any means, so it's a little bit of, I think, just Boyd missing his braking marker by the looks of it. And as a result, that incident's unfolded. Luckily, all of them getting away reasonably unscathed. I don't think Hydes is going to have any damage from that, but he's possibly going to be a little bit down on top speed if he does. And also seen that Glenn Boyd's actually blown his motor on the way into turn 3 as well, so he's had to tow back to pit lane on this lap. I certainly did there, and not quite sure what he did, whether he just ran a little bit wide or not. Yeah, got a little bit of oversteer. Very, very big snap, managed to save it and get it back up, but he slotted it in behind Jack Boyd, and the top three are switching positions again, so Jack Boyd's now in the lead of this race. Burst is looking to the inside on the way into turn 4, up the inside, up on the curve, nearly 3 wide on the way out of turn 5 and up towards the bridge, but Jack Boyd's going to reclaim the race lead, and Burst is going to slot into second, and Heights is going to be sitting in at third behind these guys, so very, very close between these three at the moment.
Great fight. Richard Brookfield's closing in now too, with the way these guys are fighting. That gap was out to around about 5 seconds. It's now into 2 between Brookfield and the leader, Jack Boyd. So this fighting that these three have been doing over the last little while, as you said, as we saw, brought Glenn Boyd into the fight. He's taken himself out of the fight, unfortunately. But Brookfield now well and truly back in it. And you feel that these three aren't over in this fight. They're going to keep going until at least the last 10 minutes.
They're going to try and go as long as they can at each other hides, trying to go around the outside of burst, but not quite going to have momentum that time by on the run down towards turn 2. And the safety car has been deployed, so we're going to start to see some pit stops.
100%. This will shake up this race. Michael Smith Crossing just had a moment right as the safety car was called, so he's probably going to get away with it. But,
Might have been just lucky enough to at least only lose one, but to see where he's going to end up. And the safety car order, pretty sure he still has to pit as well, so he might just be able to gain both positions back when the pit stop cycle does happen.
Glenn Boyd's got back out on track as well, which is good to see. Whoa, Dawn Burst thought about pitting and then realised, no, I've got to do it next time.
Very, very close. Nearly ended up in the wall, which is oh so easy to end up in on the way into that pit entry too.
Porsche out there for the safety car tonight. Good to see that we get some chopping and changing of safety cars throughout this series.
It's certainly been good to mix things up with obviously the truck, the sedan thing that is not a Skoda, but not a Holden, not a Ford or something like that.
Yeah, it's got a bit of everything in it, doesn't it?
Mm.
Look at it, you can see like 6 or 7 different car brands in just the one shot. Of course, the old Mustang, we've had that a couple of times as well. Well, 15 minutes to go in race 1, halfway through our first race of the night. Of course, normal format for Club Day Masters being run tonight, that being two 30-minute races. And as we said before too, we need to thank the presenting partners of tonight, Stream Air Conditioning, SimWorks, and of course Digital Marketing Tribe for putting this event on, special event for tonight. Been some pretty cool racing so far, and fingers crossed we see the same the second half of this race. Of course, pit stops now though will potentially shake this field up a little bit.
You have to see what's going to happen and who's possibly going to take a little bit less fuel, who's going to be able to take the least amount of fuel, if any. So we'll see what's going to happen, and it could very much decide the race possibly, and we'll definitely see a few changes. No one's deciding to come down onto the lane by the looks of it, which is a little bit interesting. So possibly no fuel restriction, anybody fueled up to get home.
Yeah, that would be my guess, is that everyone has got fuel. We were hearing that fuel would be needed, but sometimes when you test things, it doesn't quite add up exactly when you get it into race format, and things play out a little bit differently. So that is potentially what's happened. Glenn Boyd somehow is on the lead lap, and he's not too far off the back of the field. So Glenn Boyd will be pretty happy about that. Anthony DeMario, who did pit earlier, is back out there as well, currently in 19th position. George Gutierrez is out of the race though, unfortunately.
Not quite sure what's happened to Gutierrez, where there's possibly damage involved.
Been in the pits for a while, so I'm guessing so.
I must admit, Glenwood's actually done very, very well to keep himself on the lead lap as well, with the fact that he blew that motor up too.
Was he waved around the pace car though? Did he give a wave around?
Don't doesn't appear he did, so looks like he's managed to keep that lap somehow.
Must have literally just kept it on the lead lap. Must have been much in it. Getting ready to go green again though. Jack Boyd will lead the field away. Richard Brookfield's been the one that's impressed me at the moment. He's done a very, very good job holding into 4th position. And we'll be looking to move forward and try and hang on the back of these guys and potentially steal some spots away as we get ready to go green. And green flag flies, and look at the jump that everyone got except for Jack Boyd. He seemed to not quite get the run that he would have liked coming off the restart. Now it's 3 wide, 2 rows back, go. But they sorted that out very quickly. The Bono big move.
Yeah, very, very big move from De Bono to get up the inside and make that move stick. Burst, though, nearly had a go at Jack Boyd and Matthew McMillan, ending up off the road in the gravel trap and joined by Gutierrez and Parody. So, as well, so a little bit of unfolding back in the field, but back at the front, it's certainly on between Hides and De Bono, as Hides is going to want to try and find his way on by De Bono again rather quickly. We'll have to see if De Bono can try and catch up to this lead pair.
And I've put the commentator's curse on Richard Brookfield. My apologies, Richard. But he's dropped from 4th back to 7th in the restart process. We've got Lee Harrison tucked right in underneath the rear of his car, looking to make moves.
Yeah, certainly does. And Harrison will set the run up quite nicely. Goes a little bit shallow on the exit though, so trying to size him up a little bit better and get the run on him. It's looking like he might have done enough. It's going to be very, very close. So he's going to have to possibly have a little bit of a dive on the way into turn 2 as they come into turn 2. Nope, going to just sit behind for the time being. So not going to be a move made there by Lee Harrison.
So Harrison will have to try and work out a better way to get this position changed. Front of the field has stayed as it was after the first couple of corners, that being Boyd, Burst, De Bono and Hyde. Matthew Hansford Taylor currently in 5th position with Smith Crossing in 6th, and that is a very, very nice move there from Lee Harrison to take 7th position away from Richard Brookfield.
Yeah, very, very well timed and very well executed as well to get that pass done, and Capley starting to apply a little bit of pressure to Brookfield as well, just in behind, and Glenn Boyd having issues as well just on the exit of the bridge section. It's looking like he's got possibly a little bit of damage as well, with the fact he's getting a little bit squirrely there as he was getting it. We'll check the virtual racing score replay to see what's possibly happened here. And I want to say a little bit of contact with Anthony Connors with the checkup, and then unfortunately that's ended up with more contact going on just after.
Connors that was sort of checked up on the apex, and then Greg Holmes ended up sort of coming across and making contact as well after his own little issues. So unfortunate there as we look at this battle here. This is 5th and 6th position. Got Hansel Taylor versus Smith Crossing. These two guys have been pretty much nose to tail all race long. And they've just picked off positions after everyone seems to have fallen around them.
Taylor, certainly one of the bigger movers in the field at the moment, from 13th up into the top 5 at the moment, so doing reasonably well to have moved his way through the field. And also notice that Caleb Hides has dropped off the back of De Bono and also that lead battle as well, so possibly going to be on for a 4th place finish here as Hansford Taylor, if he can catch up to Hides and get a move it done, and Smith Crossing getting a little bit squirrely through the S's there as well.
Exactly right, and we'll see if there's any moves happening in the next little bit. 8 minutes to go on the clock. Means we've got around about 7 laps of racing in this one, as Hansford Taylor looking to break the draft. It's not going to happen. It's almost like you're fighting a cause of no point there, is it? You just know that you're not going to be able to break the draft just based on the nature of these cars. Might as well give up. I don't think there's any point trying to weave across the track to break the draft in these things.
And the draft's not even that strong anyway in these cars. It's up the inside. It goes at Smith Crossing to get that move done on Hansford Taylor and to move into a top 5 position.
So Hansford Taylor back to 6 now, and Richard Brookfield as well has got back past Lee Harrison. He's just seen Dylan burst off the circuit and in the wall.
Wondering if maybe some contact. No, actually no contact at all between himself and Jack Boyd. He's done that all on his own and very, very early on in the corner as well. Coming it through the bridge section, all fine and dandy, but then turns into the following corner and just loses the rear end well before any point, and then the grass doesn't help him at all and straight into the tyre bundle.
Rejoined back in 14th position, so he's got a lot of work to do. Now does Dylan Burse, as Brookfield now starting to apply pressure to Matthew Hansford Taylor. Did get through as Michael Smith Crossing somehow held onto that.
Yeah, apparently thought he was into the bridge wall there, and or even having a little bit of contact. That's up at Billy Harrison after being clipped by Hansford Taylor, I think. No, Brookfield, sorry.
I also saw that Caleb Hydes was off as well. Been a lot going on this lap.
There's certainly been a lot going on in that corner alone as well. Not quite sure what happened to Hydes, but you can see there getting it very, very out of shape was Smith Crossing, and then Hydes just looping it on his own again at that corner, and then you saw there Brookfield losing the rear as well, and Harrison going for quite the tumble as a result of being clipped on the way by. Wouldn't have expected that at all. No matter what sort of screen or setup you're on, you're definitely going to feel that one all of a sudden when you get clipped on the way by. So unfortunately Harrison ending up on his lid and having to tow it back to pit lane, so you end up pretty much in last position at this point. But DeBono's actually caught up to Jack Boyd here and is possibly to be able to challenge for the lead here with only a handful of minutes to go.
Definitely right up close now, and Hansford Taylor also broken away. I must say, shout out to Shannon McMillan. Number one, that car looks awesome. But up into 5th position. He's just been the quiet achiever in this one. Kept it out of trouble, and all of a sudden he's found himself in a very, very good position.
He has, and not too far off Lachlan Capel and Matthew Hansford Taylor as well, so possibly going to be getting involved in the podium fight. Is scary of having a very big scrap further back just behind them as well, with Smith Crossing and Brookfield, and Brookfield's going to try and set a move up here on Smith Crossing, and he's also got Demaro for company as well, so 4 cars all scrambling for the same bit of real estate day as they head onto the front straight. Brookfield's looking like he's got a bit of a run here.
Yep, Richard Brookfield back to 9th position after his little slide in contact with Lee Harrison before. Harrison has got back out on track. He has gone a lap down though. Through goes Brookfield into position number 8 past Michael Smith Crossing. But Glenn Boyd as well making moves. Smoke signals just ahead. That's Hayden Jackson who released them, but Glenn Boyd back up to 13th position. Pretty good recovery from where he was not that long ago.
He's done all right to recover, especially all things considered in this race. Not only what happened early on, but then after the safety car restart as well. So doing a decent job at the moment to try and recover some sort of result. But at the front of the field, the lead is still being hard fought between Boyd and DeBono. And DeBono is going to try and possibly find a way on by Boyd. Boyd's setting the exit up quite nicely, and that's going to help him on the run down towards turn 1. But better line has helped DeBono. He's going to tuck up right up behind in the draft. He's going to look to the inside on the way down towards turns 1 and 2. But is Boyd going to be brave enough to hold it around the outside? He's going to hold it around the outside through turn 1, 2. No. Contact between the two of them, and only just getting away with that. In the end is both of them, and as a result, DeBono's going to move into the lead, and something has happened through the back as well to Caleb Hydes.
Yeah, Caleb Hydes and Michael Smith Crossing were both off this.
Can't say so, and he's done the same thing as what Burst did earlier. I want to say, yeah, nearly did on the way through. But we'll see what's going to happen just up the road. I'll clips the dirt on the exit of the corner and off and into the paddock he goes, doing a bit of lawn mowing.
His best John Deere impersonation. Gonna have 2 laps to go when the drivers cross the line as De Bono is through now on Jack Boyd. Boyd tried to come back after his little moment earlier, but wasn't able to do so. So De Bono leads with 2 to go. It's going to be a very, very tight battle between these two.
Yeah, certainly is going to be very, very close, and De Bono's not going to give this one up easily as Hansford Taylor locks up on the way into turn 2, and Capel has to go off the road as a result of that contact, and that's going to allow McMillan to slot on by at least 1 position to move up into 4th. And it's on at the front of the field as well for the leaders. De Bono and Boyd side by side on the way down towards the bridge section, and Boyd's on the outside and he's going to nearly get the move done, and he's going to sweep it around the outside and get it done as well.
Nice move from Jack Boyd to take the lead back away from Dylan De Bono. Around the outside if you don't mind, that's not bad. Boyd now back into the lead as we approach the white flag. Who's going to take it though? De Bono thinks about another big lunge and forces a mistake from Jack Boyd. That's very, very unusual to see. Jack Boyd making a mistake. They're going to cross the line side by side. White flag in the air. This is the last lap of the race.
Is the white flag, and they're not going to give each other any sort of room this time into turns 1 and 2. Boyd on the outside again, touches the grass, no loss of control there, lucky to hold onto it, and will have to sit in behind it. De Bono through turn 1 as he can never go at turn 3. Doesn't look like it's going to happen though.
De Bono trying to hold on. Will he be able to do it? Jaden McMillan's also just lost a spot back to Lachlan Capel, so that has changed there, but this is going to be an interesting little fight here. Will Boyd be able to come back? He's up the inside, not quite close enough, and that's a huge slide from him, and that may be enough for De Bono to hold on. It's going to have to be a massive, massive lunge here from Jack Boyd to take this one away.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to be done as Boyd has a go, but is not going to be able to do enough. De Bono is going to end up winning at the race here with Boyd second. Coming up third is going to be Matthew Hansford Taylor from 13th on the grid, up 10 spots. So very, very nice finish for him. Capley is going to come home in 4th. McMillan's going to round out the top 5. And then Brookfield's going to be 6th with Scary 7th by the looks of it as well. And Burst is going to recover to 8th.
And Michael Smith Crossing back in 11th position. I must say, what a drive back through the field for Glenn Boyd though. Gets himself back into the top 10. That is a very, very good effort from him to get back up that high. We'll go through our results in just a moment's time. Of course, the drivers are going to go and turn this into a little bit of a unofficial expression session. But the results from race 1 coming up on screen right about now. There they are. De Bono in first, Boyd in second, only 2/10 at the line in the end. Matthew Hansford Taylor finishes in 3rd position with Lachlan Capel in 4th, Shannon McMillan in 5th with Brookfield, Skraev, Burst, then Jackson and Boyd. They round out the top 10.
And you're going to have on the following page Michael Smith Crossing, followed by Anthony Demoro. Matthew McMillan, Darren Lazu, and Anthony Connors to round out the top 15. Calipides ends up coming home 16th after what happened late on in the race. Greg Holmes 17th, 18th to Philip Paradiso, 19th to Brady Buchanan, and Tim Rousey to round out the top 20. And then you go back to Lee Harrison, Giovanni Gutierrez, George Gutierrez, and Andrew Hobby to round it out the field, all DNFs.
That's race 1 done. Race 2 is coming up in just a moment's time. Only have a 5-minute warm-up session, so drivers will be having a little bit of a think about what they are doing from here, and maybe work on strategy, and maybe even practice some starting procedure, because we know how difficult these things are to start. While the drivers are doing that, I'm going to take a very, very quick break. When we come back, we will have race number 2 for tonight.
Hey everyone, the USF 2000 is a blast to drive now, and here's your chance to learn it quickly. From my tutorial, VRS created a free bonus track guide for the Laguna Seca circuit, where you can learn exactly what I do in every corner to improve your lap times and get faster on track. You'll learn how to easily recognize brake markers, you'll find out which curves to attack and which ones to avoid, you'll know when to use the full track and when a sequence of corners requires a compromise, and you'll learn how hard to brake and when to lift. The VRS quick reference track maps are available free to download and delivered each week to your inbox. The entire Global MX-5 series is available, as well as bonus maps like this one and many more. So if you're a new racer, or a veteran, or just anyone who wants to learn how to get faster sooner, the VRS track guides are for you. Just hit the link or button on screen and get yours today.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top. Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome back to Club Day Masters here at Oran Park. Special event tonight for Anzac Day, and the drivers are out on circuit in the legend cars around this amazing Oran Park circuit, track which sadly no longer exists in real life but lives on forever in iRacing. Jay Kennedy and Cameron Dance here with you for the racing action for tonight. Cam, race 1 was pretty cool. Race 2 being a full reverse grid, I think we're going to see some action. We'd see a bit of controversy out of it as well.
Yeah, we certainly could see a little bit of controversy with the fact that the entire field has been inverted for this second race. So we'll have to see what's going to happen, who's going to end up winning. But it's very much going to be busy and hard work for those starting down the back and your race winners from race 1.
100% it will be tough for those drivers, but they are the top drivers in this series, so should mean that they will have the better opportunity. But what I do think is that it opens up this race for the likes of Glenn Boyd and also Caleb Hydes, who didn't have the greatest of finishes in that race, to really capitalise on this reverse grid.
It certainly does, and a few others will be able to capitalise as well that didn't have a great finishes to the race either, so we'll have to see what they can do and whether they're going to be able to keep themselves near the front of the field or at the front of the field, and what they might be able to offer to those coming on through.
We're about 10 seconds away before being able to see the starting grid for this race 2. When we can show it, We will put it up on screen. Is full reverse grid. As far as we know, it's full reverse grid. We have been thrown curveballs before. So, confirming that it is full reverse grid. Andrew Hobby will start from pole. George Gutierrez in second. Giovanni Gutierrez in third. Lee Harrison, another one that will capitalise from this reverse grid, will start in fourth, with Tim Rouse in fifth. Brady Buchanan next in sixth position. Then we've got Philip Paradiso, Greg Holmes, Caleb Hides, Anthony Connors, Darren Lassou, Matthew McMillan. Then we go to Anthony DeMuro. Then we've got Michael Smith Crossing, Glenn Boyd, Hayden Jackson, Dylan Burst, Nick Scrayev, and then the last of our drivers, Richard Brookfield, Shannon McMillan, Lachlan Cable, and then we've got Matthew Hansford Taylor, Jack Boyd, and Dylan DeBono rounding out our field.
Yeah, bear in mind as well, still got a safety car to come in this race. So even if the likes of Jack Boyd and that aren't going to be able to get to the front of the field rather quickly, they're at least going to have an opportunity to be much closer. Green flag in the air, and a very, very nice jump from Lee Harrison over everybody else. And Brady Buchanan making a very, very good start as well to get on by Tim Rousey on the way down towards turn one.
Got everyone off guard there. I don't think any of us were ready for that, but a bit of contact there.
Well, Paradiso, Rousey, and a few others all involved, and that's a big mess.
Very big mess. It'll take a little bit to dissect what's going on. I see Burst's involved, Glenn Boyd's involved, Shannon McMillan's involved. Jack Boyd, though, he got through it. And he's into 7th position.
Yeah, he barely got through that somehow to Jack Boyd, despite ending up making contact with a few in that incident, but has managed to weave his way on through and get up into a pretty decent position at the moment. He's now sitting in 6th after that pass just before on Scary Neslu, so certainly near the front of the field compared to where he started, but to see what this virtual racing school replay is going to show, and I think it was a little bit of contact between Paradiso and that just up ahead, and then everybody trying to weave their way on through, and unfortunately everybody sort of tried to find their own gap, and some haven't and some have. You can see the gaps closing, and he's had a bit of contact there and then just manages to pick up a gear, and away he goes, and recovering quite nicely as a result.
The only drivers that really weren't involved in that at all were Lee Harrison and Caleb Hides, who are now 1st and 2nd. Brady Buchanan in 3rd position. He got through that okay as well. Then everyone else somehow made contact with another car. Boyd's now in 4th position. There's Dylan DeBono sending smoke signals. He's got a fair bit of damage to his car.
Yeah, just got a little bit on the grass as a result in that previous corner, and then just looped it, and then at the next corner the tyres were probably a little bit too warm, and as a result round he went. So he's going to have to probably bring it down to the pit lane at some point. Darren Lassou though currently fighting for top 10 position, with Michael Smith Crossing hot on his heels as well. He's got Kipley just up the road in front of him, and that's a car and just around Hayden Jackson, and that's resulted in Kipley ending up in the wall, and all sorts going on there.
So Hayden Jackson, the 23 car, looping in front of these guys. Still in the same position.
Burst wasn't quite able to get a move done on the way into turn 1. Had to go very, very aggressive to the inside on the way down the front straight, but no gap eventuated in the end, so he's still sitting in behind Hansford Taylor at the moment. Looks to the inside, dives up the inside. Hansford Taylor's going to hold it around the outside. Contact wheel to wheel between the two of them, and Burst is going to come off slightly second best. Capley is right on his tail now and is going to look to the inside at the final corner. Not quite going to be close enough to have a dive though, and is going to have to sit behind. But Burst is sizing up Hansford Taylor very much and is trying to get on by so he can get a move on to catch up to those ahead.
100% right. He's trying to work out where he can get this done, but it's not going to be as easy as he would hope, because Hansford Taylor doing a very, very good job of defending. Of course, he had to defend quite aggressively in race 1. Burst, very, very aggressive move, and he will do it this time because Hansford Taylor wasn't able to get the cutback, the switchback happening there. So move done for Dylan Burst, up in the 8th position. Battle for the lead is starting to close up as well.
Yeah, definitely is. Catapults has started to reel in Lee Harrison a little bit in the last lap or so. Just under, just under 3/10 quicker that last time by compared to Lee Harrison. So we'll see what lap time difference is going to be this time by between those two. Anthony Collins as well locked in a battle with Nick Scariev, and also got Michael Smith crossing not too far behind him as well. So those three certainly going to be duking it out very, very shortly as well.
But George Gutierrez, Philip Paradiso, Giovanni Gutierrez and Anthony DeMaro all together. DeMaro makes contact with Giovanni Gutierrez. There's a little bit of a moment. And Glenn Boyd in on that too now. And his recovery again. Back through the field. Been a night of just recovery drives for him, hasn't it?
It certainly has been a bit of recovery driving for him this whole night. He's got carrying a little bit of damage on that right hand side as well from what would have to be that lap 1 melee, you'd have to presume. So possibly going to be a little bit down on top end. Doesn't look like he's got any sort of mechanical damage either, so should be okay in that department. Brookfield's really pressuring Lachlan Capley at the moment. Capley running a little bit wide on the entry to the corner there and nearly ending up off the road from losing the rear end, but Brookfield's certainly very, very close and trying to get the run, and it looks like he's done enough out of that corner to get a bit of a run going here. He's going to try and look to the inside on the way into the final corner. Is he? No, he's going to decide to just sit station and set up and move at turn 1.
Anthony Connors has lost another spot as well to Michael Smith crossing, so he's tucked in behind him now. Stay on board with Brookfield, and judging by the overspeed that Brookfield's got, this is going to be done quite easy.
It certainly is going to be done quite easy, and just slots in ahead and nearly goes for a move on Hansford Taylor as well, which was probably going to be a little bit too ambitious, but has gained at least at one position out of that. League battle still going on between Harrison and the Hydes at the moment. Hyde's just deciding to sit in behind, hasn't really shown any signs of wanting to get on by at the moment. He's had a look here and there, but he hasn't really committed to any sort of move to trying to pass Harrison for the lead of the race. So clearly thinks that Harrison's pace is okay at the moment, but Boyd's matching their pace as well, so a little bit quicker as well. So let's see, but there's a mistake there from Harrison on the way through the final corner, and that's going to allow Caleb Hyde to just breeze on by and take the lead of this race.
Wasn't done as easy as you might have thought, because Hydes did make a bit of a mistake there at the exit, but he's done enough to maintain the momentum. I thought that was going to get a little bit tighter, but he's done enough to hold on.
And that's, yeah, it just looks like he caught the inside curve and it's over-rotated the car by the looks of it, unfortunately. So he's managed to gather that one up. Hasn't really lost any positions apart from to Jack Boyd, so he's still in 4th at least. But the gap to Scariev and Smith Crossing has obviously closed up a bit, but not too much.
Yeah, that final corner, that inside curve at the final corner definitely is quite aggressive. If you take your left-hand front over the top of that curb, literally just grabs you in, doesn't it? Just drags you down the hill and loops you around. As on board here with Lee Harrison. He's closing in on Caleb Hydes. As I said before, the draft isn't huge here. Probably not quite a long enough straight to have a massive draft advantage. But it could be enough to make you propelled into turn 2. Not going to happen yet.
Yeah, not quite going to happen yet. Harrison, though, possibly had a look there on the way into turn 3, but wasn't quite close enough to get up the inside and get alongside enough. Jack Boyd's massively quicker compared to these two, are actually fighting quite hard at the moment. He was half a second quicker last time by, so he's going to be on the back of these two in absolutely no time if they don't start working it together.
A 15 flat last lap for Jack Boyd and a 15.5 for both Caleb Hydes and Lee Harrison on the last lap. Jack Boyd is the fastest car out on track at the moment. There are some drivers setting personal best sectors though, as the tyres are now coming up to temperature. Let's take a little bit for the tyres to get a bit of warmth in them, doesn't it?
Especially in these things where they're not necessarily racing tyres, as that was a moment for Caleb Hydes out of the final corner.
Just holds on. Does lose the lead though. Going to lose a spot. That's not the one you want to lose.
Yeah, certainly not, as it's usually a position you want to be in rather than not being in. So he's going to manage to close that gap back up to Lee Harrison, but again going to lose time to Jack Boyd, and not going to be what they want to be doing at all.
Dylan Burse back up into 6th position now, closing in on Michael Smith crossing. Anthony Connors slowly dropping down the field. Looks like he's struggling a little bit for rear grip. Back in the 10th position, and got Lockie Hakel right with him there. Is this another spot?
And I'm wondering if there's maybe some damage to that car as well as a result of maybe an incident earlier on that's maybe causing a lack of rear grip. Possibly could be also just abusing those rear tyres a little bit too much, and as a result they've got a little bit too much heat in them at the moment. But to see what's going to happen as this race progresses on and that safety car period comes into play as well.
Interesting to see if anyone does come into the pits during that safety car and takes a fast repair. There's a lot of cars and we don't know when the caution's coming, but I tell you what, it almost made it look like we do. It'd be interesting to see if anyone pits here under this caution, because so many cars have damage from that lap 1 turn 2 incident that it might not hurt for a majority of the field to come in. For some of the guys in the second half of the field, definitely, just to get that damage fixed and get their car back to 100%.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't be a silly idea to come down onto the lane and get the fast repair and possibly a new set of tyres as well to spice things up for the later portion of this race. Would be interesting.
Hydes, Harrison, Boyd, Buchanan and Smith crossing your top 5. Sorry, Cam.
I was going to say, it will be interesting though to see if anybody who doesn't actually have damage comes down onto the lane and puts new tyres on as well, just to see if there's maybe some difference there.
We'll find out at the end of the next lap, because they will have another lap under caution before the pits open. Of course, running the IMSA and NASCAR rules. Pit lane closes under caution. Field bunches up and the pit lane does open. So not like your Australian Racing Series rules, whether it be V8s or TCR or anything like that. Under caution, pit lane's closed until the field's bunched up, and then the pit lane opens. Everyone can pit together. So we'll see who does pit and who does not. If anyone does.
You'd certainly have to think at least someone's going to come down onto the lane to get damage fixed if they've got any.
Dylan Bono and Tim Rouse have both decided to park their cars for the rest of this race, and it doesn't look like Andrew Hobby took to the start either. So those drivers are done for this one. Matthew McMillan, the only driver, 1 lap down. There he is. Still got a little bit of damage on his car. So the leaders don't pit, no surprise.
You're trying to keep track position by the looks of it, and doesn't look like anybody else is deciding to come down onto the lane either.
Genuinely surprised that nobody opted for a pit stop for something, whether it be tyres or to fix a little bit of damage or anything like that. Very, very surprised.
Yeah, certainly. I thought there might have been 1 or 2 coming down onto the lane, maybe even a few more. I thought Paradiso's at least come down onto the lane by the looks of it, so he's the only one that's pitted at the moment. But other than that, really, really odd to see no one else decide to come down onto the lane, especially all those still carrying a bit of damage from the early parts of this race.
See if that does affect anyone later on. Jack Boyd now effectively gained 7 seconds or 8 seconds out of this safety car period. So Hides and Harrison had pretty much a 7.5 odd second gap back to Jack Boyd before he started to close it in little by little. So now back to effectively nothing. Dylan Burst isn't too far away as well. Glenn Boyd can try and make this recovery back through the field again, as we've got an incident under safety car here. Big Holmes is facing the wrong way.
I think Jackson involved as well. Looks like just everybody's sort of checked up by the looks of it.
We get ready to restart the race. 13 minutes on the clock, around about 10 or 11 laps. Green flag flies and a great jump for Caleb Hides. Much better than race 1 from Boyd in the lead. Boyd, though, applying a lot of pressure here to Lee Harrison. Not going to be close enough to get it into turn 1, but will he be able to cut down into turn 2? Late move from a mistake by Lee Harrison, and through goes Jack Boyd into P2.
You know, almost looked like there was a little bit of contact, but possibly Harrison just getting a little bit squirrely under brakes on the downshift as well. So managing to let Jack Boyd just slip on by. A few moves going on further back as well. You got the likes of Connors, Boyd and Jackson all scrapping out, and then just behind them as well, Demaro and McMillan as well as Gutierrez all scrapping for the minor positions at the moment.
Caleb Hides will feel pressure from behind coming from Jack Boyd. Dylan Burst gets through on Michael Smith Crossing, and Smith Crossing now vulnerable to the battle behind Sprayev, Brookfield and Hansford Taylor. This race is definitely providing a lot of action after that safety car restart.
Yes, it is getting very, very spicy in this field, especially in that mid to top, in the middle of the top 10 as well, with the fact that everybody is very, very close together. Dylan Burst has made up another place to move inside at the top 5 now, and Brookfield look to try and make a move on Skariev, but Skariev deciding to go a little bit defensive.
Burst now applying pressure to Brady Buchanan, who's been sitting up nice and high throughout this race. Of course, started near the front and just been able to hold that position. Hasn't really been fought at all after that big incident on lap 1. Just gave up the spot to Jack Boyd after a mistake, but now he's well and truly in the fight.
He certainly is, with the fact that he's just slid it past Buchanan to move in to fourth. He's got a little bit of work to do to catch up to Lee Harrison and then also Jack Boyd and Caleb Hydes, but he's got some very, very good pace at the moment, so I have to see what he can do from here. Not too much longer left in the race, just over 10.5 minutes, but it's all on behind burst. The Smith crossing coming under attack from Scariev and also Smith crossing, and Scariev will try and find a way on by. Brookfield's in this as well, and Smith crossing going to get on it by Buchanan. Scariev looking to try and get on by Buchanan as well, as he's made a mistake as Brady, so that's going to allow Scariev to drop alongside on the outside, at least for the following corner. Brookfield's in there as well, but not going to be a move done there.
Good defence from Brady Buchanan to hold on to that spot. As huge lunge there from Matthew Hansford Taylor. Just elbows Richard Brookfield out of the way to take that spot. And Matthew Hansford Taylor now into 8th position. And I'll tell you what, it feels like a little bit of deja vu, these two fighting, because we definitely saw that through race 1.
We certainly did see it through race 1. Very much an elbows out approach there to get that move it done as well by Hansford Taylor. Is Brookfield going to come back at him at the final corner? No, not quite, but going to be close enough to at least have the draft down the front straight and try and size up a move on the way down to turn 1. Brookfield's going to look to the inside. Is he on the way through down towards turn 2? Looks to the inside at turn 2, but isn't quite able to get enough overlap and get the move done, in a very, very big slide on the exit of turn 2 as well, for good measure.
Very, very good fight, and Scraev's probably happy that these two behind are starting this battle, because it means, oh no, Brady Buchanan, all his good work is done. Randy goes, but through goes Hansford Taylor from Scraeve, and Brookfield is going to get the spot as well. Is he? Yes, through he goes. So Scraeve, I'll tell you what, defence from Scraeve quite good at the moment. Does let it go in the end. Glenn Boyd now in at 2. Caleb Hydes is around.
So not quite sure what's happened there. I think he's done that on his own as well. No, actually he didn't. There was a little bit of contact between himself and Jack Boyd. The two of them fighting very, very hard on the way through the back end of the circuit, and you can just see how close they are. And unfortunately, just a little bit of a tap to the back bumper by Jack Boyd, and that sent Caleb Hydes around, unfortunately.
Hansford Taylor also had a little moment there too. He's dropped back behind. There was someone else that dropped down the field as well, I saw on the timing. So a little bit going on right there while we're on replay. There's a big moment there from Jack Boyd, and Lee Harrison goes through.
So mistakes happening at the front at the moment from people you wouldn't really expect to see mistakes from as well. And Jack Boyd looked like he just carried a little bit too much speed off the bridge, and as a result ran a bit wide, and that's allowed Harrison to go on through, and Hansford Taylor having to loop it around, and nearly ended up taking out someone in the process of spinning it back around, but luckily got on the brakes and managed to avoid a possible further incident. Now we'll see what's happened coming through over the bridge, and I want to say he's touched the grass on the exit, but we'll have to see what's happened. The inside curb, the inside curb just caught him off, unfortunately, and around he went. Yeah, so kind of looping it, and then I think Buchanan got helped on the way through as well. Not quite sure who that was. Tank tucked up right in behind it was McMillan actually. So
Yep.
Shane McMillan unfortunately tagging him on the way through.
Jack Boyd's taken the lead back from Lee Harrison, but have a look who's in there now. Dylan Burse is in this fight too. We have a
Harrison wide.
three-car battle for the lead. 5.5 minutes left on the clock. Around about 5 laps of racing to go, maybe 4. This is going to be a really good fight all the way to the end.
And it certainly is, and it's going to be very, very hard fought between Burse and Boyd as well. Boyd's certainly not going to give this one up easily whatsoever, but Harrison's still tucked in behind Burse as well, so certainly can't count him out at all. And Boyd looking to the outside of Burse on the way through turn 3, but not quite able to get the run there.
Not quite close enough, but still a lot of time left in this race. Dylan Burse from the back of the field to the front. Remember, he was involved in that.
Oh, no, Harrison!
Skirmish. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, just caught the grass on the exit, unfortunately, and around here when he was actually a little bit loose on the exit of the bridge as well, so that didn't help in that department, but that's dropped him right in behind Nick Scariev as well, so he's lost a number of positions out of that, but Boyd is tucked right up in behind Dylan Burse, and it's going to give Burse a little bit of a bump draft as well on the way down the front straight. He's going to look to the inside at turn 1, no, but he's going to look at the inside on the way down towards turn 2, and is going to try and get a move done very, very squirrely on the brakes side by side. A little bit of oversteer for good measure as well from Jack Boyd. He's going to be on the outside for turn 3. And he's going to try and hold it around the outside. Burse keeping that inside and a little bit of contact to look like there, but Boyd going to sweep around the outside and take the race lead. But Burse is not going to give this one up easily, as he's going to still be on the inside, but Boyd going to have the momentum to get around.
Great fight, and there was a car stuck on the inside, stopped on the inside of the infield through the never-ending right-hander. I think that was Anthony DeMare. Has got going again. These two continue their fight. Richard Brookfield, Caleb Hyde's now embroidered in a battle because Hyde's recovering after his spin not that long ago. Tries to get himself back up to the front. Might be the only position he could gain with the amount of time left on the clock though.
He's not got much longer left in this race, so I don't think he's going to really gain all that much from here on out, but we'll have to see what he can do. Should at least get one position off Brookfield and might just be able to get the other off Smith Crossing, but we'll have to see what's going to happen.
Smith Crossing had a huge lock up into turn 2 there and locks it up again into turn 3. There's a huge slide coming out of the corner there from Richard Brookfield. Not long left to go. 2 minutes 20 seconds, so 2 laps left in this race. 1.5 even, because there is not much time on the clock. Brookfield looks like he's being able to defend this position through the infield quite well over Caleb Hyde's, but that run on the front straight, that final corner exit, looks where Caleb Hyde's is quite strong, and there as well.
Yeah, so Brookfield can just hold on the way through turn 1. He might be able to do it. It's very sideways over the Uses, and is going to get very sideways on the way through the final corner as well, and that's going to compromise his exit and allow Caleb Hydes to really take advantage and set up a move for turn 1. Didn't take advantage to try and get the move done on the exit of the final corner, but we'll see what's going to happen on the way down towards turn 1. Brookfield is going to try and hold it, but Hydes is going to try and look up the inside with a very late dive and a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, and Hydes half spin there and nearly ending up well and truly off into the grass, still recovering it, and Glenn Boyd's going to slip on by in the process as well up the inside, but he's going to try hold it around the outside. Is Caleb Hyde's a little bit of oversteer on the exit, and he's going to continue to try hold it around the outside, but Boyd is going to keep up the inside, and that's off the road.
I was a bit too aggressive there for Caleb Hydes. I don't think there was any intent there, but as soon as the wheels interlock, Glenn Boyd was always going to go around there, so unfortunate for Glenn. His recovery back through the field had been brilliant to get himself up into 5th, and then to drop all the way back down to 9th once again. A little bit unfortunate to see. White flag this time for Jack Boyd as he comes across the start-finish line here at Oran Park. Dylan Burst, great drive from him so far in 2nd, but he's a little bit too far back at this stage to potentially look at making a move.
You might not just have enough to get the race win off Jack Boyd at this stage at least, but we've seen Boyd make a mistake before, so we might see him make another one again, but hopefully not. We'll have to wait and see.
Back in the field, Hayden Jackson defending from a recovering Matthew Hansford Taylor. Of course, Hansford Taylor was up near the pointy end in race 1. That's a little bit of contact over the curb. But this race here hasn't gone anywhere near as well as he would have liked. Matthew Hansford Taylor still in 12th position.
And still trying to, or struggling to get 11th as well. There's a little bit of contact between himself and Jackson there through turn 2, but we'll see what's going to happen. But Jack Boyd is going to come through the S's over the top of the rise and into the final corner for one last time to win race 2 in commanding fashion all the way from the back of the grid as well.
Yep, great drive from Jack Boyd to pick up the win. Dylan Burst will cross the line in 2nd position. Brookfield will finish in 4th behind Michael Smith Crossing with a podium tonight. Caleb Hyde's in 5th position. Lee Harrison recovers for 6th. Glenn Boyd, has he got enough momentum to get past Lachlan Capel? Not close enough. And Nick Gray have lost a couple of spots on that last lap as well, so he drops back to 12th position. And a few others moving and shuffling around, but no doubting who the winner is from this race here tonight, that being Jack Boyd.
And as per usual, doing some celebratory burnouts to send those rear tyres to the bin.
The results from race 2 tonight up on screen. Jack Boyd, Dylan Burst, Michael Smith Crossing, Richard Brookfield, Caleb Hyde's the top 5. Lee Harrison recovered for 6th position. Lachlan Capel in 7th. We've got Glenn Boyd in 8th. Shannon McMillan 9th. And Hayden Jackson rounds out the top 10.
Go over the page to Matthew Hansford Taylor. Nick Scariev comes home in 12th. Giovanni Gutierrez in 13th. 14th to Darren Lassou, followed by Greg Holmes around at top 15. Anthony Connors 16th. 17th. Matthew McMillan. Brady Buchanan comes home 18th. 19th. Philip Paradiso. Then your retirees: Anthony Del Moro, George Gutierrez, Tim Rowell, Dylan DeBono, and Andrew Hobby.
So that is the racing done for tonight here at Oran Park. Business returns to usual programming next week as Club Day Masters heads to Okayama for round 5 of the championship. Halfway point in the season this coming round at Okayama. Make sure you watch it here on SimSpeed TV. A big thank you to everyone who has helped behind the scenes for this special event tonight, that being SimWorks, Digital Marketing Tribe, and Extreme Air Conditioning. We're going to wrap it up right there because it's been a long night of broadcasting for us here at SimSpeed, but we thank you very, very much for watching, and we do hope that you stay with us here at SimSpeed TV. Make sure you do like, share, subscribe wherever you can, because the more people that do, the bigger our broadcasts can become, and the more people will know about the awesome racing action we've seen here at Oran Park. Cam, thank you for joining me.
No worries, it's been a pleasure, and we'll see what next week is going to bring with the return of the regular season.
Yep, Oran Park is done. Okayama next week with the MX-5 and the Audi TCR. Until then, we thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to Oran. Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?